Imagine this. Your phone's dead, no internet, silence everywhere. But you can still talk to someone maybe thousands of miles away.
Mm-hmm.
Not with a screen, not through a cell tower, just radio. It sounds kind of old school, right?
It does, but it's incredibly powerful.
And this form of communication, it existed way before the internet, and, well, it often works when the internet doesn't.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today, amateur radio. Most people know it as ham radio.
Ham radio, right.
And when we say amateur, it's key to know that just means it's non-commercial. It's really about, personal enjoyment, experimenting, learning.
Yeah.
And a big part is public service.
Okay.
So our mission here is to dig into the essentials, to understand why this tech is, well, still so relevant today.
All right, let's unpack that. Ham radio. What is it, really? And what are these hams actually doing? It sounds like more than just chatting.
Oh, it's way more than just chatting. Fundamentally, you've got licensed folks' hams using radio gear to talk to each other.
Licensed, okay.
Yeah, that's important. And the really unique thing, it works completely without the internet or phone networks.
That's the key differentiator.
Absolutely. And what they do, well, it's diverse. There's global communication, obviously. Hams talk across town or across continents using different frequencies, different methods,
Yeah.
like regular voice or even Morse code hams, call it CW.
Morse code.
Still,
Oh, yeah.
it's surprisingly effective, especially when signals are weak. And then there are advanced digital modes like FT8 or PSK31. Think of them like sending digital whispers across the globe. You can make contact with signals you can barely even hear.
Wow. So it's not just what you say, but pushing the limits of how it gets there. Sounds like a real tech playground.
It totally is. Ham radio is like this giant real-world lab for tech experiments. People are constantly building their own antennas, modifying radios. Some even get involved with building satellites. It's kind of a huge decentralized R&D effort,
Fostering real ingenuity.
Definitely. In electronics, signals, how radio waves travel. But beyond the tech side, there's a critical role in emergencies.
Right, you mentioned public service.
Yes. When disaster hits floods, earthquakes, big storms, and the usual comms go down, ham radio often becomes the lifeline.
Because it doesn't need that infrastructure.
Exactly. Hams step in to pass messages for emergency services, like maybe the Red Crescent, or coordinate local responses. It's vital.
So definitely not just a hobby then. It's a serious service, a backup when everything else fails.
Precisely. That public service angle is fundamental. And it gets even cooler, I think. Hams can actually talk directly to the International Space Station.
Seriously, with home equipment.
Yep. Or other satellites orbiting Earth. Imagine setting up your gear and having a chat with an astronaut.
That's amazing.
And there's a competitive side, too. Big global contests where the challenge is to contact as many different countries as possible in, say, 48 hours.
Ah, like a sport.
Kind of. And people chase awards, like DXCC, that's for contacting 100-plus countries, or SOTA, Summits on the Air. That involves operating from mountaintops. Really test your skills and your gear.
Okay, that sounds like a mix of engineering, adventure. I get the appeal. So if someone's listening and thinking, okay, I'm intrigued, what gear do you actually need?
Right.
And how do these signals travel so far? It still feels a bit like magic.
It can seem that way? Okay, the basics. You need a transceiver. That's a radio that transmits and receives.
Transceiver, got it.
These can be little handhelds, HTs, people call them, like the Baofeng UV5R, that's a really common starter one, or bigger base stations for your house from brands like ICOM, Kenwood, Yaesu.
Okay.
Then you absolutely need an antenna. And these range wildly, from a simple little whip antenna on your handheld up to like complex Yagi beams that look a bit like TV antennas on steroids.
Right, yeah.
And power. You can use mains power, sure, but also batteries, solar power. That really underlines the independence aspect.
Works anywhere.
And computers are increasingly important too. For logging contacts, running those digital modes we talked about, programming the radios.
Okay, so you've got the gear, but the airwaves are vast. How do you pick where or how to talk? And yeah, the big question, how does the signal actually get there? Across town or around the world?
Good questions. That brings us to frequency bands and modes. Think of bands as different radio highways.
Okay.
You have VHF, like the 2-meter band, and UHF, like 70 centimeters.
Yeah.
These are mostly line of sight, great for local chat, maybe through repeaters on hills.
Line of sight, like a flashlight beam?
Pretty much. Then you have the HF bands, high frequency, like 40 meters, 20 meters. These are the ones that can go global.
Ah, the long distance one.
Exactly. And the mode is how you send the signal, voice, like FM or single sideband, SSB. Morse code, CW, those digital modes, FT8, RTTY, DMR, APRS for tracking and data. You can even send images slowly with SSTV.
Slow scan TV, wow.
Yeah. Now, how they travel. This is the cool part. HF signals can actually bounce off the ionosphere. The ionosphere. It's an electrically charged layer way up in the atmosphere. HF signals hit it and skip back down, like skipping a stone on water.
And that's how they cross oceans.
That's exactly how. Multiple hops, potentially. VHF and UHF, though, they generally don't bounce like that, so they're more local.
That ionosphere bounce is incredible. Okay, but this sounds powerful. It can't just be a free-for-all, right? You can't just grab a radio and start blasting signals everywhere. There must be rules.
Oh, absolutely. You are spot on. Amateur radio is strictly regulated everywhere in the world.
By governments.
Yep, national authorities. Like the BTRC here in Bangladesh, the FCC in the US, Ofcom in the UK, and so on.
Right.
To operate, you must pass a license exam.
Ah, there's the catch.
Well, it's necessary. The exams cover radio theory, the laws, operating procedures, ethics. It's about understanding the tech and the responsibility.
Makes sense.
Once you pass, you get a unique call sign, like a S21XYZ or something similar here. That's your identifier on the air.
Your radio fingerprint.
Kind of, yeah. And transmitting without that license, that's illegal. Seriously illegal. Big penalties because you could interfere with, emergency services, aviation, other critical stuff.
Right, so getting the license is step one. But then, once you're on the air, are there codes of conduct? You mentioned ethics. Why such strict rules just for a hobby?
Precisely. Once licensed, there are clear rules. Absolutely no commercial use. You can't use it to run a business or sell things.
Okay, purely non-commercial.
Right. No broadcasting music, no offensive stuff. Always identify yourself with your call sign at intervals and stick to the frequencies and power levels your license allows.
Seems reasonable.
And the why? Well, it comes back to this being a shared resource. The airwaves are finite. The rules ensure everyone can use them responsibly, prevent harmful interference, and maintain the integrity of a system that, as we've said, can be vital in emergencies. It's about respect for the shared space.
That's a really important perspective. Respect for the shared space. Okay, so let's bring it back to today. In our world of smartphones, constant internet, instant messaging, why is this older tech, ham radio, still so important? Doesn't modern tech make it kind of redundant?
It's a fair question, but the answer lies in that independence we keep coming back to.
Resilience.
Exactly. Ham radio works without cell towers, without internet cables, without the power grid sometimes. That makes it incredibly robust when other systems fail. Think hurricanes, major blackouts, even cyber attacks knocking out infrastructure.
Ham radio keeps going.
It often does. And beyond emergencies, it's a fantastic educational tool. It's hands-on STEM learning, electronics, physics, communication tech. Hams have historically been innovators, contributing to early wireless and satellite tech. It's not just using tech, it's understanding and building it.
So it's not just preserving old tech, it's actually a living foundation for learning and maybe even new tech.
Absolutely. And maybe the most important part for many hams.
Yeah.
It builds community, global friendships across borders, and that invaluable community service aspect.
They had the emergency support.
Yeah. Think about it concretely. Picture a ham here in Bangladesh, maybe using an antenna they built themselves, talking to someone in Japan.
Wow.
Or maybe some students using ham radio gear with GPS to track a weather balloon they launched for a science project.
Cool application.
Or those contests connecting with people in over 100 countries in just 2 days, just using voice and radio waves. These aren't just isolated cool things. They show the power and flexibility baked into this system.
It really is eye-opening. The resilience, the versatility, connecting continents, helping in disasters, even talking to space. It's this truly independent way to connect, to learn, to contribute. So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, the listener?
Well, I think in a world where we're so reliant on digital networks that can feel surprisingly fragile sometimes, the core ideas of amateur radio offer something powerful.
What?
Self-reliance, hands-on experimentation, and that direct person-to-person connection, without intermediaries. It's a potent reminder that innovation, community, connection, they can all thrive even without the infrastructure we usually depend on. Maybe it encourages you to think about those hidden networks, the surprising technologies that are humming along beneath the surface of our everyday lives. Makes you wonder what other resilient, independent systems are out there just waiting.